ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शांति शांति शांति। Namaskar my dear friends. Continuing the dialogue between sage YAJNAVALKYA and his consort Maitreyi, I start the second video with stanza number 6. The Brahmana osts one who knows him as different from the self. The Kshatriya osts one who knows him as different from the self. The words ost one who knows them as different from the self. The gods ost one who knows them as different from the self. The beings ost one who knows them as different from the self. All ost one who knows it as different from the self. The Brahmana, the Kshatriya, these words, these gods, these beings, and the soul are the self. Objection. How can the knowledge of one thing lead to that of another? Replies. The objection is not valid, for there is nothing beside the self. If there were, it would not be known, but there is no such thing. The self is everything. Therefore, it being known, everything would be known. How is it that the self is everything? The Shruti answers it. The Brahmana ost or rejects the man who knows him to be different from the self. That is, who knows that the Brahmana is not the self. The Brahmana does so out of a feeling that this man considers him to be different from the self, for the Supreme Self is the self of all. Similarly, the Kshatriya, the words, the gods, the beings and all ost him. This Brahmana and all are the rest that have been enumerated are the self that has been introduced as the object to be realized through hearing, etc. Because everything springs from this self, is dissolved in it, and remains imbued with it during continuance, for it cannot be perceived apart from the self. Therefore, everything is the self. Stanza number 7. As when a drum is beaten, one cannot distinguish its various particular notes, but they are included in the general note of the drum or in the general sound produced by the different kinds of strokes. But how can we know that all this is the self now? Because of the inherence of a pure intelligence in everything, we conclude that everything is that. An illustration is being given. We see in life that if a thing cannot be perceived apart from something else, the latter is the essence of that thing. As, for instance, when a drum or the like is beaten with a stick, etc., one cannot distinguish its various particular notes from the general note of the drum, but they are included in, taken as modifications of the general note. We say these are all notes of the drum, having no existence apart from the general note of the drum, or the particular notes produced by different kinds of strokes are included in the general sound produced by those strokes. They cannot be perceived as distinct notes having no separate existence. Similarly, nothing particular is perceived in the waking and dream states apart from pure intelligence. Therefore, those things should be considered non existent apart from pure intelligence. Now, stanza number 8. As when a conch is blown, one cannot distinguish its various particular notes, but they are included in the general note of the conch or in the general sound produced by the different kinds of playing. Similarly, as when a conch is blown, connected or filled with sound, one cannot distinguish its various particular notes, etc., to be explained as before. Stanza number 9. As when a veena is played on, one cannot distinguish its various particular notes, but they are included in the general note of the veena or in the general sound produced by different kinds of playing. Similarly, as when a veena is played on, etc., the dative case in vinaya stands for the genitive. The citation of many examples here is for indicating varieties of genus, for there are many distinct kinds of genus, sentient and insentient. It is to show how through a series of intermediate steps they are included in supreme genus. Before pure intelligence, that so many examples are given, just as a drum, a conch and a veena have distinct general and particular notes of their own, which are included in sound in general. So during the continuance of the universe, we may know all things to be unified in Brahma, because the varieties of genus and particulars are not different from it. Stanza number 10. As from a fire kindled with wet faggot, diverse kinds of smoke issue, even so, my dear, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atravangirasa, history, mythology, arts, Upanishad, verses, aphorisms, elucidation and explanation are like the breath of this infinite reality. They are like the breath of this Supreme Self. Likewise, it may be understood that the universe at the time of its origin, as also prior to it, is nothing but Brahma. As before the separation of the sparks, smoke, embers and flames, all these are nothing but fire, and therefore there is but one substance, for so it is reasonable to infer that this universe differentiated into name and form is therefore its origin, nothing but pure intelligence. This is expressed as follows. As from a fire kindled with wet faggot, diverse kinds of smoke issue. The word smoke is suggestive of sparks, etc. as well, meaning smoke, sparks, etc. issue. Like this example, O Maitreyi, all this is like the breath of this infinite reality, the Supreme Self that is being discussed. Breath here means like the breath as a man breathes Without the slightest effort, so do all these come out of it. What are those things that are spoken of as issuing from it as its breath? The Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvangirasa, that is the four kinds of mantras, history such as the dialogue between Urvasi and Puruvas, the nymph Urvasi, and so on. It is this Brahma that is meant mythology, such as this universe was in the beginning unmanifest, etc. Arts which treat of music, dancing, etc. This is also Veda, etc. Upanishad such as it should be meditated upon as deer, etc. Verses, the mantras occurring in the Brahmanas, such as regarding this there are following verses. Aphorisms, those passages of the Vedas which present the truth in a nutshell. For example, the self alone is to be meditated upon. Elucidations of the mantras, explanations, eulogistic passages, or elucidation may be of the aphorisms above. As the passage, the self alone is to be meditated upon, or the passage, he who worships another God thinking he is one and I am another does not know. He is like an animal to the gods. Have this concluding portion of the present chapter as its elucidation and explanation may be of the mantras. Thus, these are the 8 divisions of Brahmanas. So only the mantras and Brahmanas are meant. It is the eternally composed and already existent Vedas that are manifested like a man's breath without any thought or effort on his part. Hence they are an authority as regards their meaning, independently of any other means of knowledge. Therefore, those who aspire after well-being must accept the verdict of the Vedas on knowledge or on rights as it is. The differentiation of forms invariably depends on the manifestation of their names. Name and form are the limiting adjuncts of the Supreme Self, of which, when they are differentiated, it is impossible to whether they are identical with or different from it. As is the case with the form of water, it is name and form in all their stages that constitute relative existence. Hence, name has been compared to breath. By this statement, it is implied that form too is like breath, or we may explain it differently in the passage, the Brahmana. Ost 1. All this is the self. The entire world of duality has been spoken of as the domain of ignorance. This may lead to a doubt about the authority of the Vedas. In order to remove this doubt, it is said that since the Vedas issue without any effort like a man's breath, they are an authority. They are not like other books. Stanza number 11. As the ocean is the one goal of all sorts of water, as the skin is the one goal of all kinds of touch, as the nostril are the one goal of all odors, as the tongue is the one goal of all savors, as the eye is the one goal of all colors, as the ear is the one goal of all sounds, as the manas is the one goal of all deliberations, as the intellect is the one goal of all kinds of knowledge, as the hands are the one goal of all sorts of work, as the organ of generation is the one goal of all kinds of enjoyment, as the anus is the one goal of all excretions, as the feet are the one goal of all kinds of walking, as the organ of speech is the one goal of all Vedas. Moreover, it is not only at the time of its origin and continuance that the universe, on account of its non-existence apart from pure intelligence, is Brahma, but it is so at the time of dissolution also. Just as bubbles, foam, etc. are non-existent apart from water, so name, form and action, which are the effects of pure intelligence and dissolved in it, are non-existent apart from it. Therefore, Brahma is to be known as pure intelligence, one and homogeneous. So the text runs as follows. The examples are illustrative of dissolution. As the ocean is the one goal meeting place, the places of dissolution or unification of all sorts of water, such as that of rivers, tanks and lakes. Likewise, as the skin is the one goal of all kinds of touch, such as soft or hard, rough or smooth, which are identical in nature with air. By the word skin, touch in general, which is perceived by the skin, is meant in it different kinds of touch are merged like different kinds of water in the ocean and become non-entities without it, for they were merely its modification. Similarly, that touch in general, denoted by the word skin, is merged in the deliberation of the manas, that is to say, in a general consideration by it. Just as different kinds of touch are included in touch in general perceived by the skin, without this consideration by the manas, manas means mind, it becomes a non-entity. The consideration by the manas also is merged in a general cognition by the intellect and becomes non-existent without it. Becoming mere consciousness, it is merged in pure intelligence, the supreme Brahma, like different kinds of water in the ocean. When through these successive steps, sound and the rest, together with their receiving organs, are merged in pure intelligence, they are no more limiting adjuncts, and only Brahma, which is pure intelligence, comparable to a lump of salt, homogeneous, infinite, boundless, and without a break, remains. Therefore, the self also must be regarded as one without a second. Similarly, the nostrils, that is, odor in general, are the one goal of all odors, which are modes of earth. Likewise, the tongue or taste is in general perceived by the tongue of all savours, which are modes of water. So also the eye or colours in general perceived by the eye of all colours, which are modes of light. So also the ear or sound in general perceived by the ear of all sounds as before. Similarly, the generalities of sound and the rest are merged in deliberation, that is, a general consideration of them by the manas. This consideration by the Manas again is merged in mere consciousness, that is eternal cognition by the intellect. Becoming mere consciousness, it is merged in the Supreme Brahma, which is pure intelligence. Similarly, the objects of the motor organs, such as different kinds of speaking, taking, walking, excretion, and enjoyment, are merged in their general functions like different kinds of water in the ocean and can no more be distinguished. These general functions are again nothing but vital force, which which identical with which is identical with intelligence. The Kaustuki Upanishad reads that which is the vital force is intelligence, and that which is intelligence is the vital force. Objection: in every one of those instances, the mergence of the objects only has been spoken of, but not that of the organs. What is the motive of this? Reply: true, but the Shruti considered the organs to be of the same category as the objects, not of a different category. The organs are but modes of objects in order to perceive them, as light, which is but a mode of color, is an instrument for the revealing all colors. Similarly, the organs are but modes of all particular objects in order to perceive them, as is the case with a lamp. Hence, no special care is to be taken to indicate the dissolution of the organs, for these being the same as objects in general, their dissolution is implied by that of the object. It has been stated as a proposition that this all is the self. The reason given for this is that universe is of the same nature as the self, springs from the self and is merged in it, since there is nothing but intelligence at the time of the origin, continuance and dissolution of the universe. Therefore, what has been stated as intelligence is Brahma. All this is but the self, is established through reasoning. The Pauranikas hold that the dissolution is natural, while that which is consciously affected by the knowledge of Brahma through their knowledge of Brahma is called extreme dissolution, which happens through the cessation of ignorance. What follows deals with specially with that. So I end this video here. Please like, comment and share the video. Subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. I will continue the topic in the next video. Thanks a lot.